Are you ready to become awesomer? Hello, everyone. My name is Umar. I'm your host on the No Limit Selling podcast, where industry leaders share their tips, strategy, and advice on how you can become better, stronger, faster. Just before we get started, I've got a question for you. Do you have a negative voice inside your head? We all do, right? I'm going to help you remove that voice in under 30 days guaranteed. Not only remove it, but transform it. So instead of the voice that sabotages you, there's one that propels you to much higher levels of performance and success. There's a link in the show notes. Click on it to find out more. All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling podcast. And today we've got Chris in the program with us. He's a realtor. He's a leader. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Umar.
So how long have you been in real estate?
Actually, I'm going on my 10th year this year. I started back in 2013. So, yeah.
Brilliant, which is kind of nice when you can go through a couple of cycles of, feast and famine, so you know that you're not going to die.
Yeah.
And you're going to have the ability to just thrive through this, because this is where you really learn the art and craft of real estate and more so about yourself, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I was kind of in and out, like looking from the outside, looking in real estate, when the market crashed in 2008, 2009 there. But we've definitely had some cycles, go up and down. Specifically, I remember 2017 where it just kind of crashed 40% overnight, right? So, and then now we're in sort of unprecedented times right now as well. So it's interesting.
So take me back to the first kind of like down market. Who was your mentor then? Who was the person saying, "Hey, Chris, stay the course. It's going to be okay"? Was there somebody like that in your life back then?
Actually, there was, yeah. So I was blessed enough to have a coach, and I used to coach with Kathleen Black and her team for team coaches, because I used to have a team of 8 agents plus 3 admins as well before I
Nice.
kind of went on my own. And I only did that because I started opening an office, and it was just too much to balance, the team plus the office plus everyone else type of thing. So.
Brilliant. And so what was one piece of advice that she gave you that you still use
Um,
today?
Honestly, it was just kind of keep your head down and do the work. Honestly, it's just getting back to basics in times like these is huge, right? So I think a lot of people forget to do that. And I think that's a huge fundamental of your business, and even myself, right now, like I'm still doing my little pop by gifts that I do. I'm still connecting with people every day. Like I'm fortunate enough, I have a lot of listings, but there's still work to be done every day, right? So.
Yeah, one of the things you could do is combine two things. Right now, cannabis is legal in Ontario. Instead of
Yeah.
pop by gifts, you could do pot by gifts.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You know what? I haven't tried that yet. I've done adult beverages, but I haven't done any cannabis yet.
Yeah, probably that's might be a bridge too far. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, my
Chris was
clients may
never heard from
enjoy it.
again.
So,
What I'm not sure what happened.
yeah. Yeah.
So, Chris, do you have a team right now?
I do not know. So my wife and I, along with our business partners, the Baileys, Katia and Steve Bailey, we're managing partners of the agency Brantford location. And hopefully many more
Nice.
locations after that. But for now, it's just that location, and we're glad to be a part of it. And we're kind of leading the charge in Ontario. So yeah, so
Brilliant. Because what's kind of interesting is that there's like team leaders, and then there's like brokers. And in some
yeah.
ways, it's a similar kind of job, and in other ways, it's different. So, how's the job similar? Because you're like inspiring agents to be more productive and successful. So, where are those two jobs similar, and where is their difference?
So that's a good question. So when I was managing my team, right, everything was kind of in house and team focused and making sure that everyone is fed, right. And I think
Yeah,
that's the most important fundamental of a team is, good teams keep running because everyone is fed, everyone's contributing, everyone's taking a part, everyone's, there all the time. With the brokerage, running the office, it's a little different, right? So I'm still offering coaching, advice, helping out other agents, whether they're hosting open houses for me or whether they're bouncing questions off.
Hmm.
But I don't necessarily feel the pressure of making sure that everyone is fed daily. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing.
nice. And of course, there's like, good brokers, bad brokers, and highly effective brokers.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the makeup of a highly effective broker that helps the agents that they shepherd become more successful?
I think it's good. It starts with good leadership, right? I think that the managing partners of our offices aren't afraid to open up their own book of business and help out those agents. Whether it's their secrets or their tips and tricks or whatever that is. I think it's important. I think a big mantra, in my business anyways, my personal business, is there's a lot of fish in the sea, and spread the wealth, right? I mean, there's no such thing in my opinion as this hidden secret, per se, of selling. I think real estate in itself is a huge relationship business, right?
Right.
And as long as you can build those relationships, you're going to be successful.
Absolutely. I think this is very much there's like a group of people that is like, what I do is secret. No one will know. And there's a
100.
limited amount of opportunity. And the reality is, no, there is a sea of opportunity out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say when one door closes, another one opens, right? And it's just, uh, if you get rejected 3 times, four times, as long as you have a really good meeting and you get that one person, that's all that matters.
So I was at a team meeting. I was coaching this team, and one of the team members was one of the most successful people. And he reported, hey, I just closed that account. We're listing this guy's property. And the owner, team leader owner goes, wow, how many times did you have to reach out to this guy? And he said, 21 times.
Yeah, I believe
It
it.
was the 21st time he actually needed to talk to me at that time, and my text hit him at the right moment. He said, oh, thank God you reached out. I need this. Had he not done that, the guy would have forgotten he existed and would have gone to go to Chris and say, hey, Chris, can you sell my house? And the guy that was nurturing the relationship would have gone, what the hell? It's your fault if you don't stay in touch. And the message really was the guy did not feel like I was bothering him 21 times because he basically forgot about the 20 times.
Yeah,
The 21st time,
100%.
it's like, what? So be bold and also be of service.
Absolutely. And there's all different points of contact that you can do as well, right? It doesn't have to be a phone call for 21 times, right? Like, you're adding them to your database and there's, maybe some email marketing, there's some text messages, there's some phone calls, there's a little of everything, right? So,
Yeah, and as long as you touch each time, you're adding some value to that person. So it's not like, hey, Chris, uh, why don't you get me to sell your house? Hey, Chris, why don't you get me to sell your house? It's like, let's get tired after a while. It's like, hey, Chris, right now, there's this program to increase the installation of your house that the government's paying for. Thought you might want to know. Or I found
yeah.
this kick ass plumber who is like freaking amazing. So, yeah, add value.
Absolutely. And you know what? Sometimes for me personally, like I don't even talk real estate. I actually, discuss how's the family, maybe I'm checking in to wish a happy birthday or a happy anniversary, right? And I think being personable with that relationship is a big part of it too.
Yeah, so this particular broker that I'll be doing a workshop for next week, uh, he has 1,000 agents
Wow.
and he calls everybody on their birthday. So sometimes it's like multiple birthday phone calls, which he loves. And what was kind of interesting was a team that was part of his organization left, and about a year later they came back. And the day they came back, one of the people had a birthday that day,
No
and they
way.
were wondering with their husband, "Is Conrad going to call me today? Like, is he really serious about this?" And sure enough, she got a phone call that day saying, "Happy birthday! How's it
Yeah.
going?"
It's huge, right, in the business because they're thought of, right? And it's that impression. So everyone wants to feel like they matter, right? And it's really important, whether it's a client or even another agent that works for you, right?
Brilliant. And what's kind of interesting with technology is we're doing this interview that's going to be high def, and then we're also doing this simulcast on Instagram. And one of my henchmen is reporting back, your video's blurry on Instagram. So it's like, don't we live in
Oh,
magical times that we can do this multitasking thing?
yeah,
Am I
really.
blurry on your screen as well?
Not a little bit here and there. Yeah, a
Yeah,
little bit.
it might just be the bandwidth today is down a little bit.
Yeah,
But
crazy.
we're gonna go right to the back to the interview. We're gonna stop the Instagram thing here. But before we stop this, Chris, do me a favor. Look at the camera on your phone
Yep.
and give me a big smile. All right, brilliant, excellent. So, what is the one thing that we need to help people really do better in this market? Because a lot of people are panicking right now. How can we help them to stop panicking?
Do you mean like the
Do you
actual clients
agents?
or just agents?
Both. Let's talk about agents. Let's talk about agents. How do we stop them from panicking and focus on the basics? And then we'll talk about homeowners and buyers, how to stop them from panicking.
So, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, an agent that's just starting, or maybe they started during those COVID times, where things were selling no problem. Uh, like I said before, it's getting back to basics, right? Doing those little things that are going to add up. Add people to your database, right? Make those connections, make those relationships. Keep hustling. I mean, the hustle is real, right? If an agent's offering open houses to do, make sure you do the open house correctly. Make sure you don't look like a slob when you're you're attending, right? Like you're on display
Yeah,
all the time, and be prepared, right? Like preparation is huge. I drive around with little kits in my car, business cards. I wear my swag all the time. And
nice.
people know who I am at this point, right? And I think that's a huge thing. For clients, I mean, the biggest thing is not to panic. I mean, right now in the news, there's a lot of fear mongering going on. We've seen these rates before. This isn't a new thing, right? And whether you're on a variable
These
or
were
a fixed,
normal rates.
they
These were
they are.
normal rates.
They are. Yeah, we're not talking like these are 20% interest rates. We're talking 5-6%. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still relatively low, right? And eh, in my opinion, like, in our area, we were up 41%, during the COVID spike there. And yeah, all that's pretty much gone, whatnot. I think we've reversed back to the 2019, 2020, pricing. But at the end of the day, it was unsustainable. Your pricing at that level is unsustainable. And if Jane Doe bought their house 10 years ago, for $150,000, and it's still worth 750 to this day. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to realize like you're making another 600,000 bucks, right? So
Yeah.
that's my thing.
So, do you remember this old TV show called Magnum PI with Tom Selleck?
I do, yeah.
There was this one scene that may have only happened once, but it may have happened a couple of times where Higgins, the guy that ran the estate, changed the locks on his guest house. And so he parks
Oh
his car, he runs to the front door, and he's picking the locks as Zeus and Apollo, the two Dobermans, are charging after him to attack him for breaking in. And all he's doing is picking the lock, saying, don't look at the dogs, don't look at the dogs, don't look at the dogs, because he's focused on the task at hand. And it kind of reminds me of what's happening right now is if you're an agent and you go back to the basics and you start doing the basics, number one, that's what you need to focus on. But number
yeah,
two, the act of doing takes the stress away. It's the
absolutely.
act of looking around. What the hell's going on? You're going to look at the freaking dogs and get freaked out and panic and be bitten by the dogs. But if you focus on the job at hand, it distracts you. Two, you get shit done. And three, this is how you thrive. And four, when you come out of this thing uh, intact, and it's going to be like, doesn't matter what the freaking market does. I am woman, hear me roar. Absolutely,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Brilliant. So now let's go to homeowners that are freaking out a little bit. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, I think it's looking at your equity as a whole. Unfortunately, if you bought last year or the year before, maybe now is not the right time to sell, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you need to look at some different avenues. But I mean, for the regular person who bought 5, 10, 15 years ago or had the house, in their household for many years, I mean, you still have a lot of equity in there, right? Like our prices are still up. And,
Holding, yeah.
and they are they're holding. Like we haven't hit this big housing correction yet, and will it happen? Who knows? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, the 41% in our market that was unsustainable has gone away. But then when you sold for $1 million and you're buying for 1.2 when the house is really worth only $1 million because you're in a bidding war, it doesn't really make any sense. Like it's a kind of balance that
Hmm.
way, right? So, and that was a challenge. Like to honestly, for me, like I hold a lot of listings, but buyers were very frustrated during those times trying to offer on houses, and they keep losing and losing and losing. And I remember, so I'm an agent that I don't really like to underprice my properties for strategy. I like to put them at market value, and we're still getting 10 to 15 to 20 offers on these properties. And, Karen and John and all these other buyers come out of the woodwork, they're very upset. It gets demotivating, gets frustrating, right? And yeah, so I would say, to the regular person, it's still a good time to move, right? Go on with your life. Don't worry about the little dips of the market. It's going to be short term anyways, and go from there.
Absolutely. And I talked to a lot of realtors in the marketplace, North America, especially in Canada. I'm hearing from some of them that there's more immigrants coming into Canada, and they're coming into the major centers. So the pricing, according to them, is not going to go down. It's going to go up because it's just supply and demand dictates. So don't
Absolutely. And
panic.
and and the crazy thing is, like, it wasn't even 6 months ago. There was articles coming out that Ontario itself was short like 1.5 million homes. We didn't
Yeah.
magically just build those homes overnight. That's the biggest thing is we're short all these homes. We're getting all these immigrants coming in. Like it's bound to be okay, right? So
And what's kind of interesting with immigrants is I really believe that they bring strength into it because there's like usually a hunger of coming here. I'm sure there's like a small percentage, like 1% or less, that's like, oh, I want to get the benefits in Canada. Most people are
yeah,
like, move out of the way, dumbass Canadians. Let us like thrive here. We want to work hard, and
100%,
so that's like pretty amazing. And by the way,
absolutely.
if you want to see like a gorgeous kid, find a kid that's got a Japanese parent and an African parent.
Oh
Those
yeah,
kids are like gorgeous. So there's like something to be said for like different people coming together and making beautiful babies.
absolutely. Yeah,
So as we kind of look at, we got Thanksgiving weekend happening here in Canada,
yeah, absolutely.
and so what are you thankful for?
You know what? I'm thankful for kind of where I am. My career, my family. It's. I wouldn't be where I am today with the people who are around me, honestly. And I'm thankful, obviously, for all my clients who have used me. But honestly, it starts right at home. Like I have 5 kids. I'm a big blended family. My wife is also managing partner of the agency as well, so we're always
Nice.
busy, and we have a really good relationship with everyone at work, and I think it's a huge focus, right? So not only do I have family at home, but I have family at work as well. So I like to think of it as a big family. Yeah.
Ah, brilliant. I love that. So before we part company today, Chris, what's one thing that brings you joy and happiness in your career?
You know what? Over the past 10 years, I still get excited that I've had the thrill for the deal to get accepted. I really do. And,
Nice.
I even last year, I was surprising some clients where I'd go over to their house and to take a live video and I would tell them the news, and some of them were either relocating or, moving out of the country or whatnot. just that thrill, I think it just keeps me going. It, when I started real estate, it was a job and a career that I knew that every day wasn't going to be the same. And, 10 years go by and it really hasn't changed. Like every day is different. Every day there's a new problem or a new exciting thing to do, or, a new person to connect with. And that's what keeps me thriving. So,
Brilliant. What's one mind hack that you'd like to share that people could use to be more effective, sleep better, be sexier? Like, what's that one piece of advice they could implement today?
Honestly, I think it's starting with a routine, right? Like routine
Mhm.
is huge, and if you don't start the day well, right, the rest of your day is just kind of unfold, right? So, for me, like I personally am trying to get better at uh, disconnecting from the social media and the phone, right, in the
Yes.
morning. Trying to have my morning coffee, trying to do my routine, for myself before I actually get started in the business, right? And running a busy household, right? I got kids to drive to school, I got kids to go to daycare, I got dogs to feed. And I think it's really important that you have to have that routine in place, because otherwise you're scatterbrained, you're going to start forgetting everything, right? So
Absolutely. And I think the thing I like about that is it also gives you a grounding, like a touchstone every day that,
yeah.
hey, all right, the world is normal. And now, like, the world can go topsy turvy, but I've got that one spot in the day where I've got routine and foundation, and you're doing it with love, right? Is very much looking after your kids and your dogs and all that stuff. So brilliant. Chris, is there a question I should have asked you that I did not?
No, I think I'm happy to be here, and I think it was a really good conversation, really productive. So
So thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation. Thanks for being on the show.
absolutely, thanks, Umar. Take care.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.